HUMBLEMUD.
It's officially October, and I'm one happy HUMBLEMUD because spooky season is my favorite time of the year. Truth be told though, I don't wait until October to play scary or Halloween adjacent stuff. This is a year-long celebration for me, so I figured I'd share some of the games I've played throughout the year that I think would make for some great spooky season gaming sessions, as well as discuss the games that I'm going to play for the first time myself this October. And for those who don't really like horror games, don't worry. I'm starting off with games that have Halloween vibes but aren't necessarily scary, then we'll transition to the actual scary stuff in the back half of this video. That way, everyone can be happy. Also, I've got a question for you guys, as well as a special announcement at the end of this video, so please stick around for that if you can. Anyway, let me know down below what you're playing for Halloween, and I'll go ahead and kick things off with some fun frights. Now, I have a confession to make. Until 2025, I had never played Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I know, but unfortunately when I was a kid, our PlayStation broke and I never got to try this one or a lot of PlayStation classics. However, I know you guys know this game. You don't need me to recommend this one to you. And so instead, today I wanted to talk about Castlevania The Adventure Rebirth. This game originally came out on Nintendo's WiiWare service and has never been released on any other console since. However, considering that it is just a WiiWare game, it's pretty easy to obtain elsewhere and you can run this thing on a potato. But don't let its small file size fool you. This is a beautiful game with amazing music, crazy boss fights, ridiculously good lighting that only aids in adding to the ambiance with all of these amazing crispy pixel designs. It's the best way to play Castlevania The Adventure, hands down. There's so much going on in this game, and since the bones of it are built off of a Game Boy game, the immediacy of this game is what makes it so fun to me. If you're a Classicvania fan and you've got a Wii lying around, or honestly just a cell phone, you should give this one a try. Zombie Panic in Wonderland. This wild and wacky WiiWare gallery shooter will see you mowing down mobs of the undead against this beautiful, scenic, and traditional Japanese backdrop. Unlike Castlevania The Adventure Rebirth, this game is available on modern platforms like the Switch and PC. Zombie Panic does have some semblance of a plot, but honestly, you're going to have so much fun just blowing up hordes of the undead, buildings, ninjas, only all kinds of things that you're probably not going to follow along, but I mean, I don't think that was ever the point anyway. I love the fully destructible environments in this game, the amount of moves at your disposal, there are multiple unlockable characters, the boss fights that are really going to test your reflexes. Zombie Panic in Wonderland is such a blast, and unfortunately I discovered it after I did my 70 shooters video, but trust me, had I known about this one before, I would have included it. It's that good. Killing Time Resurrected. Now, when I went on my 3DO kick earlier this year, I knew one of the games that I would have to try is Killing Time. However, when I found out that Night Dive Studios released their own remaster, I figured that version of the game was probably the one I would enjoy the most. And I'm happy to report that while Resurrected is largely based off of the PC version of this game from back in the day, it incorporates many elements from the original 3DO version, like the FMV character designs and many of the monsters exclusive to that version. In addition to that though, the control scheme and the general pacing of this game has that very twitchy boomer shooter kind of feel that we all know and love. There are lots of areas to explore, from lighthouses to mansions to courtyards, all kinds of things, incredibly wacky enemies that have been upscaled from their original resolutions, and to me honestly it's just a wonder that something like this exists. Yes, this game is over the top and a little silly at times, but it also has a surprising amount of soul and ambiance. And one thing I have to shout out is the music. The music in this game is so interesting and different. That same sentiment could be shared for Killing Time as a whole. It's a very unique boomer shooter experience. And really quick, while I'm still on the topic of the 3DO, I've got to shout out Escape from Monster Manor. This is a 3DO exclusive that is largely based off of the Wolfenstein engine, and so it plays in a very similar manner to Wolfenstein, and you'll see yourself running through this labyrinthian mansion filled with ghouls and spirits. While it's not scary per se, this one particular spirit that jumps up in front of me gets me every single time. But yeah, I had to give a quick shout out to that one. And next we have Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon. Now, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know I enjoy this game. I've talked about it at various points throughout the year. I've even given away copies of this game. It's essentially an indie dark fantasy take on a game like Skyrim. However, the lore of this game is based around Arthurian legend, and I think the way that it goes about presenting every single idea that it has, it does masterfully. I can't express enough how much I simply adore the art direction of this game, but for the sake of my viewers who have watched me talk about this game plenty, I've got a link up above that will take you to my in-depth review of Tainted Grail. Really quick, before we jump into the truly scary stuff, I'm gonna throw in some footage of Wings of War. It's this macabre, horror-themed Genesis shoot-'em-up that I discovered through GameSack and Johnny Graphics this week, and I've been playing it ever since. Wings features some seriously crazy effects and amazingly disturbing monster designs. Alright, onward to the horror stuff in 3, 2, 1... Told you it was going to be scary. I don't remember where I found this. All I know is I stumbled upon it one day and wrote down that September 25th release date because the visuals have really stuck in my mind. Eclipsium is a game that I aim to pick up this Halloween season. From what little I've heard and seen, it's a relatively short, surreal, psychedelic walking simulator type of game. I know many don't enjoy that kind of genre, but I've personally enjoyed them ever since I first played Edith Finch, and I could see myself getting a craving for this type of Lovecraftian, otherworldly, mind-boggling experience at some point in the near future. And while it's not technically a walking sim, this game reminded me to also shout out Dagon as well. On the topic of Lovecraftian games, Dagon is a game inspired by H.P. Lovecraft's infamous short story of the same name. This is a kinetic visual novel as described by the devs, meaning it's all about the story and looking around your environment to uncover secrets and explore the world around you. I should add that the base game is entirely free, and being based off of a short story, you can play through this in about an hour or so and see some really cool Lovecraftian visuals. What's there to lose?
The weather kept fair, and for uncounted days I drifted aimlessly beneath the scorching sun, waiting either for some passing ship or to be cast on the shores of some habitable land. But neither ship nor land appeared, and I began to despair in my solitude upon the heaving vastness of unbroken blue.
And that brings us to Condemned Criminal Origins. Now I know that this was an Xbox 360 launch title, but I played it for the first time this year, and it's easily one of the scariest games I've ever played in my life. You play as this detective who is trying to uncover why the people living in the underbelly of the city are suddenly becoming so violent, and as you go on, you'll start to find out there's something much more sinister going on. The combat is absolutely visceral, the atmosphere is palpable, and this is the first time I've ever had to pause a game to collect myself. I actually managed to get footage of this exact moment, which you're about to see here. Nope. 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 Criminal Origins will keep you on guard at all times, and I found myself often entering every single room tactfully like an actual cop, keeping my back against the wall and scanning every angle of every room as well as I could before entry. Condemned is available on Steam and often goes on sale, and I'm telling you, as someone who has also played Alien Isolation, as someone who has played Silent Hill 2 Remake, Condemned is scary and absolutely holds up. Just a second ago, I mentioned that I played Silent Hill 2 Remake, and yeah, considering it was my game of the year last year and you can likely find it for a good price now, I wholeheartedly recommend it. It's a masterpiece. But I know many of you are likely curious about the newly released Silent Hill F, and don't worry, no spoilers here, but I did play all the way through the game already, and I'm slowly chipping away at my second playthrough. If you'd like me to do an in-depth review of this game later on, by the way, let me know down below. Now, Silent Hill F was pretty much immediately divisive amongst fans, and I'll be honest here, I wasn't sure if I even liked it for probably the first 3 hours or so. If you pick this game up and find yourself feeling the same way that I did, I'd just suggest trying to make it to the school. By the way, not a spoiler, Hanako is literally a schoolgirl. Going there only makes sense. I'd suggest making it to the school section of the game and seeing how you feel once you get there, because that's where I personally felt that it started evoking those similar Silent Hill feelings that you may feel were missing initially. Even still, there's a lot that this game does in the way of combat especially that is substantially different from anything that we've seen before with this franchise. It's not a Souls-like game, but it definitely took some inspiration from them. Right now, certain very vocal pockets of the fanbase will tell you that it's not a true quote-unquote Silent Hill game, but I think it absolutely is for what it's worth. My prediction is that we'll see a ton of videos a few years from now saying stuff like Silent Hill F was good, actually. I'm calling it now. Anyways, if you're skeptical, maybe wait for a sale, but if you feel like you just had to have it like I did and you pick it up, stick with it and let the story gradually unravel before you. It may surprise you. The next game I plan to pick up and play this Halloween season for the very first time alongside Eclipsium is Signalis. This one passed me by when it first came out, and I know next to nothing about it other than the general vibe and feel for the combat based on seeing trailer footage like the footage I'm showing here, but I know that it's maintained an overwhelmingly positive rating on Steam after all this time, which is insanely impressive. The pixel art is gorgeous, and I remember this time last year many of you suggested that I try it, so this year I finally will. If you've played this one, definitely let me know what you think about it down below. Of course, no spoilers please. Now, I've got two more things left to discuss here. The first is that I need your help, guys. I am absolutely spoiled for choice, I'm sure a lot of you relate, and I'm genuinely stuck between Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, Fear, and Alice Madness Returns. All three of these have sat in my computer for ages, and I want to get them off the backlog. I think I'm maybe leaning towards Alice, but please let me know which one you all recommend. And finally, my special announcement. For the first time ever, I'll be covering a topic that I ended up getting so into that I decided to make it into a two-part series. For the next 2 weeks of October, I'm going to be discussing this absolutely insane retro homebrew gaming scene that I discovered recently. Many of these games have Halloween vibes, so they fit right in, and I know for a fact that 99% of you will have never heard of any of these. Well, by the end of this month, you'll discover 24 amazing underground games completely new to you. I am so excited to talk about this, but for now, let me know what you're playing for Halloween, let me know what you're watching for Halloween, let me know if you'd like to see a Silent Hill F review, maybe after I get through my second playthrough, and please help me decide which of these three you recommend trying. If you're still here, thanks so much for watching, and as always, stay humble.